What's up, everybody, and welcome to the show. We hope you brought your Grindhouse Syndicate chain wallets and you're listening to this on your Sony Walkman portable AM/FM tape player. Because today, we are headed back to 1994. I'm your host, a crazed 1950s milkman, and that is my co-host, an axe-wielding murderer with a sack on his head. And on this episode, we are covering part 1 of the Fear Street trilogy. So, I have been wanting to do this for, really probably since the show started. I don't know, I think I talked about it either right before the show started or right after the show started, but I really wanted to do this one.
If I remember correctly, this was one of the things that made you really want to do the show.
Yeah, I really wanted to talk about these movies because there was just so much to talk about. And I was like, man, it'd be really cool to talk about this with a whole bunch of people. And yeah, it was kind of one of the things that made us really want to kind of start a show and start, like to have other people to talk to about movies.
The time has come.
Time has come.
I'm excited about this one, man.
I am too.
This was one of those Netflix. I caught it right after it came out on Netflix. Didn't know anything about it, and I really thought it was going to be really campy. I thought it was going to be like kind of teenager, teeny type, kind of like the Scream TV show.
Yeah.
At least the later seasons.
Kind of a letdown.
Yeah, and I didn't think there'd be a lot of gore and stuff because I thought it would be geared towards teenagers because of the Fear Street books. And I was super stoked. Like, as soon as that intro hit after the first kill, I was like, okay, I'm going to lock in. This is going to be a good one.
Yeah, I remember I kind of watched it because, for one, it has really awesome colors and the title. It caught my eye. And then I seen it said 1994. I'm a sucker for anything that's set in the 90s, especially like kind of the mid 90s, because that was really the time I was kind of getting into movies. And I was like, well, even if the story's not good or the characters aren't good, I like to see how people show the 90s. Like, do they do a good job at showing the 90s? Are they going to remind me of things that I had forgotten about from that time? And then I watched it and I was like, holy shit. And then I discovered that in just a couple days, there was a sequel coming out. And yeah, I mean, it just kept going and it was something. But
Do you remember me when I watched this, me mentioning it to you?
no, I don't remember you mentioning it to me. I
Because-
remember us talking about it after we had both seen it though.
Yeah, I remember watching it, and I told you about it right after. I'm like, man, you got to check this out. Because at the time, Netflix isn't known for super great horror movies. They used to be. They used to have, used to be able to find awesome gems on Netflix all the time. But whenever I caught this, I remember you were like the first person I told. I'm like, you got to check this out.
Yeah, so I'll explain, what's going on here. So we're gonna do something a little different here. We would not normally do it this way, but kind of just hear me out. So we are going to do all 3 Fear Street movies in a row. And the reason why is because these 3 movies were all filmed together. They star some of the same people. They were made by the same people. And it's really one big story. And the main reason, though, is they are all very different movies. So, the first one is like a 90s slasher for the most part. The second one is a 70s like camp slasher.
Friday the 13th.
Pretty much. And finally, the third one is like a 1700s like witchcraft, Satan type movie. So we really have like a lot to cover with these three movies. I think it's rare that you could do like a trilogy where everything goes together, but it's not like the same kind of movies. Like if we were to sit and do, the first three Scream movies, somebody that may not be interested in 90s slashers may not want to listen to all three of those 3 weeks in a row. But it has so much different stuff in it. I think that these are really good movies to have all in a row, all together, the whole story. So we're gonna do that.
No, I agree. Yeah, I think that it is extremely rare to have a trilogy that has every movie is completely different, but it stays within the same story. Can't think of very many examples of that. And they're all done really well, and they all have a completely different feel to it. Like you have like a Scream, a Friday the 13th, and like a The Witch.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, we got like slashers, witchcraft. We have possession, we ghost
Yeah,
kind of a little bit.
they're slashers, but like the first and second one are completely different feeling
Oh
slashers.
yeah.
Like I think they did an incredible job at separating the type of movies these were.
Yeah, I hope you guys are with it. We are super excited. I think we're gonna have a bunch of fun with these. But first, if you want to stay up to date on what is going on with us or the show, talk about or submit your movie request, or just say hey, you can always find us at one of our social media accounts or our official website at grindhouse.horror.pod.com. Facebook at the Grindhouse Syndicate Horror Podcast, Instagram at grindhousesyndicate.horror.pod, and many more, which you can find links for in the show notes as always. And please subscribe or follow for alerts on new episodes. And if you really love us and don't want us to get broken up with because we have to move to Sunnyvale and let some football star named Peter grab our asses out in public, give us a review. Fear Street Part 1, 1994 is a 2021 American supernatural slasher film directed by Leigh Janiak, written by Janiak and her co-writer Phil, I'm going to butcher this guy's name, Grazadelli. It was based on the book series of the same name by R.L. Stine. It is the first installment in the Fear Street trilogy and stars Kiana Madeira, Olivia Scott Welch, Benjamin Flores Jr., Julia Rewald, Fred Hetchinger, and Ashley Zuckerman. The film follows a teen and her friends after a series of brutal slayings as they take on an evil force that had plagued their notorious town for centuries. Development of a film based on the Fear Street books began way back in 1997.
Wow.
Yeah,
Took a long time.
did. So if you're not familiar with the Fear Street books, which I know there's a lot of people that aren't, so back in our time, you read Goosebumps. Goosebumps is what you read when you were, I don't know, fucking second grade, third grade, up until you were about 13 or 14. And once you hit that, then like the Goosebumps were like a little too kid. Like it was like all the main characters were way younger than you actually were. So you kind of graduated to Fear Street. Fear Street was like teenagers. It was the same, written by the same guy, the same kind of spooky shit, but it was now older and dealt with a little bit older, more mature things. So, most people know the Goosebump books, but the Fear Street books were up there too. They were really popular. I remember my library, like every time we went in there, we would look for a Goosebump or Fear Street book. To like anytime you went in there, like they took you in there to get a book or something. And it was such a rare occurrence to come across one on the shelf because they were always checked out. Like to get your hands on one. I want to say I probably only ever got to rent like 3 Fear Street books ever because they were just so hard to come by.
Yeah, the Goosebump books too.
Yeah, same thing
They
with
would
them.
always have one or two, probably ones you've already read. I remember, God, I was probably what, 7 or 8 when I ordered that lot off eBay back when eBay was the shopping place. Remember I
Yeah,
ordered that
fucking
was like
box of books.
35 Goosebump books.
Yeah, it was a lot of them.
I wish I'd have held on to them. I don't know what happened to them.
Well, I guess they realized the popularity of them because they decided to make a movie back in 1997. So that's when I remember they were really popular. But yeah, so Hollywood Pictures acquired the rights to the series, but the project, of course, got stuck in development hell. So Hollywood Pictures originally bought the rights because they planned to make a set of movies similar to the Scream franchise. They wanted to capitalize on that Scream money like a lot of people did. And their whole original goal was to just have a trilogy of like 90s slasher Scream type movies. That was the original idea for these.
Yeah, well, that could have been good, but I really like the direction they ended up going.
I agree. The project re entered development at 20th Century Fox in 2015, with Janiak hired to direct and rewrite Kyle Killigan's script. Produced by Chairman Entertainment, filming for the trilogy took place back to back from March to September of 2019 in Georgia, with the film set for a theatrical release in June 2020. However, the trilogy was pulled from the schedule because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Following the acquisition of 21st Century Fox by Disney, Chairman Entertainment ended their distribution. I'm fucking that all up.
Some hard words in there.
They ended their distribution deal with 20th Century Studios and gave distribution rights to Netflix in August of 2020. Fear Street Part 1, 1994 premiered at the Los Angeles State Historic Park on June 28, 2021, and was released on Netflix on July 2nd, 2021, with Part 2, 1978, and Part 3, 1666, released weekly. The film received genuinely positive reviews from critics who praised the performances of the cast, the horror elements, and the faithfulness of the source material. In July of 2017, the project was announced as a trilogy of films set in different time periods, with Leigh Janiak, who had previously directed the 2014 horror film Honeymoon. She was hired to direct as well as rewrite the screenplay. The Hollywood Reporter stated that the trilogy would be shot back to back, with the films released 1 month apart. In March 2019, filming began in Atlanta and East Point, Georgia. Several vacant storefronts from the North DeKalb Mall in Georgia were renovated so that they could be used for filming. In order to recreate that beautiful 1990s mall look, Casual Corner, Software, etc., B. Dalton Booksellers, Music Land, and Gazooks stores were built for the production. Production also took place at Hart Labor Creek State Park in Rutledge in August of 2019, and filming wrapped in September 2019.
It's the second week in a row we've had a remodeled mall for a movie.
Yeah.
Beat that record.
So one thing I love about this movie is I remember a lot of these stores. My first job ever was during a summer. Our aunt managed a game store, which was it was a GameStop before GameStop had named it GameStop. And I remember I remember going into like B. Dalton's bookseller. That was like a when you go into a bookstore and you go in the back and they have the whole entire back walls magazines of shit that you didn't even know they had magazines of. Like I remember there was seeing like a bunch of horror magazines and stuff back there. And Music Land was cool, but the most important one was Gazooks. And if you don't know what Gazooks is or was, because I don't know if they were everywhere, but they are essentially Hot Topic. I don't know if Hot Topic owned them or Hot Topic ended up buying them, but I do remember that a Gazooks that we had here was eventually turned into a Hot Topic, and they didn't even change anything except for the sign out front. It stayed the exact same.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so Gazooks was the place where I bought my first chain wallet, and I bought a South Park hat there when I was like 12 years old. Yep.
Get you a nice fanny pack.
Yeah, do you remember I had a chain wallet and it had a little alien?
Yes, I do very well.
That came from Gazooks.
To think that was the coolest shit when I was a kid.
It was the cool shit back then. Yeah, that came from Gazooks though.
Remember you had that, and you had the little like green alien. It's like, well, I won't say little. It was like, I don't know,
The blow up one
now, yeah, it was like
came from Gazooks.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yep.
I think back now, and I feel like it was like 2.5, 3 foot tall, but it's probably much smaller than that.
I think it was
so small.
That was probably like 2 feet tall, probably. But yeah, he was in the like the neon area. He glowed when you put black light on him.
Seems like something you get out of Spencer's now.
Yeah. Gazooks was Spencer's too.
That's
the only very similar.
Only 2 reasons I go to the mall: for a Spencer's or a Hot Topic trip.
Well, Normally
I hit both of them right across from each other.
Hot Topic used to be a lot more like Spencer's. It kind of changed into kind of not as cool, in my opinion, in the 2000s. But yeah, man, that when I seen these stores in this movie, I was like, holy shit! Like I remember all these fucking stores. Like that's great that they got them actually in the movie. So ratings, Rotten Tomatoes gave it an 84%. IMDb gave it a 6.2 out of 10. Letterboxd gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. And the average audience rating is a 4.2 out of 5. If you would like to watch this movie, you can currently find it streaming on Netflix. I actually said, fuck that, and I went and found somebody to make me a Blu-ray copy of this trilogy so I can own it.
Breaking the law.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
they broke the law.
Yeah. So the director, she's actually married to one of the Duffer brothers who does Stranger Things. And she originally was only supposed to do this movie, this first one. And then they were supposed to find other directors for the rest of them. And I guess that they really liked what she had done and they tried to get her to do it. And then they also couldn't really find anybody to fit the style. So they ended up talking her into doing the whole trilogy. But one of the reasons that this movie was filmed in Georgia and it had some of the people from Stranger Things in it is obviously the connection to her husband who does Stranger Things, also filmed in Georgia. So yeah, the Stranger Things definitely has a connection to this movie.
Yeah, I give her props. Like we were talking about earlier with doing 3 movies with 3 completely different feels. Did they, do you know if they used the same cinematographer for all of them? I assume they did if they shot them back to back like that.
I can't say for sure, but from what I did, because I haven't dove into the whole trilogy yet. I'm trying to do the research movie by movie because I don't want things to bleed into other episodes. But from what I did discover doing this one was apparently the whole crew they just shot all 3 movies. Boom, right there. So I don't think that they switched out any really important people like a cinematographer. I would assume it was the same one the whole time.
He did a good job.
Oh, fantastic.
Talking about not trying to, it is really difficult not to have the other movies bleed into this movie. I really wish we could go back in time and watch these and do an episode one by one.
Oh, I know.
Before we knew the whole story.
I know. Yeah, I agree.
That would have been fun.
Yeah, they did announce a couple months that they are doing more Fear Street, but I'm nowhere near as excited if Leigh Janiak is not going to be writing and directing them. If she was, oh, I'd be ecstatic. But yeah.
I wonder if they tried to get her to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I had to look into that.
Do you know if are they going to be Netflix?
Yeah. Yeah, they're Netflix.
So we could do episodes on those.
We can, yeah.
I wonder if they're going to stick to the same group of killers in the story. Because there's a couple of the killers I would really like to see get their own movie. There's a couple really cool ones that don't really get as much of a spotlight as especially in the first one. We really get 3 of them that get more of a spotlight.
Well, in my opinion, I think Netflix dropped the ball here because after these movies hit, what they should have did is did like some kind of special or something where each one of these killers had an hour, like an hour movie or something, not like a whole movie, but an hour or whatever. And like we get to actually see these stories happen because everybody would have fucking watched that. I would have absolutely watched that.
I think people will still watch it.
They probably still would, but it would have been really like awesome if this would have been, like they would have announced right after this came out that we're going to do now, each one of these killers is going to get their own small standalone movie. And, a year later they finally come out. It would have been amazing. They could still do it, and I definitely would still watch it. But I feel like from their announcement, they've moved on to a new Fear Street story because I know they announced the new story that they're going to base the new set of movies off of, and it's not connected.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, I think it's like there's like a I don't know like a prom one or something is what they're doing. Prom story. I can't remember.
That sounds campy as fuck already. This is, that sounds like what I thought this was going to be initially. And I was like, oh, fuck it, I'll give it a shot. And it ended up surprising me. I thought the, like, gore and the brutality was going to be non-existent pretty much. Because I thought it was going to be geared towards teenagers. And, they did a really good job. So hopefully they continue that and it doesn't turn into a campy shit show.
We'll see. All right, so we're going to jump into this plot. So we start off meeting a young teenage girl named Heather who works at a bookstore in Shadyside Mall. And we see that it is closing time and she is shutting down the store for the night when she gets startled by her friend Ryan. Ryan also works at the mall a few stores down, and he works at the legendary Gazooks. And they chat for a bit when Heather asks Ryan if he would give her a ride home. He agrees and they both go to lock up their store separately. Heather begins to place some books on the shelf while she is waiting on Ryan when she suddenly hears a book fall off the shelf in the back of the store. As she puts it back, we see a glimpse of something black run behind her. She turns around quickly to find a black hooded costume with a skull mask and a large knife. If you haven't seen this, pretty much just imagine like the ghost face costume, but with a skull mask instead of a ghost mask.
Yeah, I think they totally went with the cheap dollar store Halloween costume that anybody could get their hands on. That kind of feel that Wes Craven was going for, the actual like a legit Halloween costume that anybody could get their hands on. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, they based this this character off of an actual Fear Street character. The skull mask guy is a killer in a Fear Street story too. So
one thing I'll say, I never caught this before. So when she goes to close up after she asks Ryan for a ride, he says what to her. And that is totally, never caught that before, but that's obviously the voices that he's hearing.
Yeah, you see the little fly.
Right before he snaps, yeah.
The fly like lands on them too. Like they don't ever realize like there's a fly on their face. Yeah, that's how you know that they've been picked. So she gets stabbed in the abdomen, but when she looks down, she sees the knife stuck in the book she's holding. She takes off running, heading straight for Gazooks looking for Ryan. All the lights in the store are off except for like the black lights, and it looks fucking awesome. It looks super cool. We then see her kind of like creeping around the store, trying to hide from the skull mask guy. He is in there doing his Ghostface impression. And we see all those blacklight posters that we were all obsessed with in the 90s. Yeah, I miss those. Like I wouldn't have those in my room now, but man, I miss like seeing those. Like that they were fucking so cool. I remember they just
Yeah.
blew my mind when I was a kid. Like how does some shit glow like that? That's so cool.
Yeah, those were definitely part of the time. I don't know. If I found a cool enough one, I'd put one up.
So we also see that this skull mask costume is sold here at this store. Hint, hint. Skull Mask Guy grabs her and slices her stomach. She final girls his ass and puts him on the floor. She tries to get out of the back door, but it is locked, and we see Skull Mask creeping around the aisles looking for her. This scene right here gives off like the Casey Becker versus Ghostface vibes.
Oh yeah.
It's like the exact same scene as when Casey Becker is outside looking inside her house and he's fucking looking around for her
Yeah.
inside. It's like the exact same thing.
Yeah, they not only that, 'cause that is like the exact same like look and mannerisms, but when he ultimately stabs her in a second, the running stab that he does is the exact same Ghostface stab.
So she gets the jump on him though, and she hits him in the head with something and takes off running into the food court. And while she is running, she starts to see other mall employees that Skull Mask has killed. She attempts to do her best impression of Forrest Gump and just keep running, and we see Skull Mask run up behind her and stab her in the back, tackling her to the ground. He then turns her over and viciously stabs her right in the chest with a big ass knife. Using some of the last bit of her energy, she pulls the skull mask off to reveal that the killer is Stu Mocker.
Dun 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 dun.
No, it's not Stu. It's her friend Ryan. She is shocked at this reveal when suddenly Ryan is shot in the head by Sheriff Nick Good. Now, with a large hole in his forehead, his lifeless body falls on top of Heather, who is also now dead. The camera pans up to show that there is a full-grown, real-life fucking tree living in the mall. And then we get a cool little Fear Street intro thing.
I'm surprised they didn't pull in David Arquette to play Sheriff Good.
Or that guy who plays Doofy, who's supposed to be him.
I seen a picture today of those two at a convention.
Mm-hmm.
That guy like in his full Doofy outfit.
Yeah. I love the opening of this movie. It is so awesome. It is very much a 90s slasher opening, and it does a really good job of giving you that same feeling that the original Scream did. They did a fantastic job with that.
Yeah, I agree. This was going into this, like I said, I didn't have good thoughts, but after this scene, I was strapped in.
Oh yeah.
Ready.
Yeah, I remember when I seen this and I was just like, is that how this shit start? Like, is this what this is going to be? Because, I don't think I knew it was going to be like a 90s slasher per se. And I remember just being like, dude, if the rest of this movie's like this is going to be awesome.
Yeah, definitely set the tone for a great movie and trilogy.
So with this intro thing, it kind of tells us a baseline of info for this story. Basically, using news articles. And if you have listened to this show for a while now, you know that every time a movie does this, I pause and read every one of them goddamn news articles. Because I want you, the listener, to be as informed as possible. So it talks about how Sunnyvale and Shadyside are like these rival neighboring towns. At one point it shows a map of Shadyside and Sunnyvale. And if you actually pause it and you look at the map, you can see a couple little things about it. Like you can tell just from the map that Shadyside's shitty and Sunnyvale is awesome. And one of the biggest things is in the exact same spot on the maps, but opposite of each other, is Shadyside has the Shadyside Cemetery And Sunnyvale, in that exact same spot on their map, is the Sunnyvale College. So
Never noticed
the
that.
map itself, yeah, I paused this shit and I read every article, I read everything. So yeah, even the map itself shows how different these places are. But yeah, it basically says Sunnyvale is awesome. It is a really nice, very low crime. Mostly like well-off families live there. Everyone that lives there is very successful. Shady Side is like the opposite. Everyone's kind of broke. They all have bad luck. Very high divorce rate. Nobody really wants to live there. You just get stuck there, I guess. And we see that there are all these murders that happen in Shadyside every, X amount of years. So we have Ruby Lane in 1965. She was a good church going girl. She got good grades, all that stuff. And she goes on a murder spree while singing a song about her boyfriend committing adultery. After she murders her boyfriend and her friends, she eventually commits suicide. You have Harry Rooker, aka the Milkman, in 1950. He went door to door while the husbands were at work, and he murdered housewives, killing 7 women ages 22 to 35. Then you have Isaac Milton, 1922. He was a kid with some kind of like facial deformity, but despite that, he was a good kid, and he beat his family to death one by one with a baseball bat while they slept. There are more killers, but that's really like all the intro newspaper articles show us. Oh, and we have the Skullface Killer. Forgot about him.
We actually get a shot of the kid with the baseball bat, and I would like to see his a movie on him.
Oh yeah,
because and it's so quick. It's only like half a second we get to see it, maybe a second and a half. But he's literally like beating his parents. I assume it's his parents. They're in the bed. He's beating their head in with the baseball bat, and it's so fucking brutal.
yeah. I want to say he beat like his 2 brothers and his parents to death, like in bed one by one.
Yeah, but it was good shit. They set that whole scene up to show it for like a second and a half. I wish we would have got a little bit more.
Yeah, there's the milkman. He looks like he's like eating the woman's face. And in the news article, when they talk about him, so he went, door to door like he was delivering milk, and he murdered these women. And when the kids and the husbands came home from school and work, they all would discover their mother/wives dead. So yeah, really, really interesting backstories with these killers. We really need some standalone movies here. So we also get some stuff about a massacre at a summer camp, and a witch named Sarah Fear, and a bunch of like witchcraft/black magic stuff. Then we jump to the bedroom of one of our main characters, an angsty teenage girl named Dina. And Dina and her girlfriend Sam have just recently broken up, and Dina is very, very angry at Sam. Key the 90s female grunge music. And then we meet Dina's slightly younger brother, Josh. I think, what do you say? He's probably what, like 14?
Yeah, he goes to school with them, so I would imagine he's a freshman.
Yeah, something
So
like that.
he's about 14.
And then we hear a sound that was pure magic and joy when we were young. The sound of the door to the universe being opened. The sweet, sweet sound of dial-up internet. And Josh here is somewhere I have not been in quite some time. An AOL chat room. And he is chatting with someone with the screen name Queen of Air and Darkness. And they are talking about the murders at the mall last night, and they believe it is the curse of the witch. Sarah Fear has struck again. Man, AOL chat rooms. I don't remember. Was you around old enough at the time of AOL chat rooms?
Yes, I remember when we got our first computer in the house. It was probably 98 or 99 when we got our first like actual house computer, and the having to make sure that nobody was on the phone, and then having to go through the fucking dial-up and all that bullshit.
You remember getting the fucking, just having the stack of AOL, like 30 hours of free internet, and you would just collect them because if you had enough of them, you could just have internet for free for, X amount of time till you ran out of that disc, and then you got to get your hands on another disc. But AOL used to send them fucking discs to everybody. Like, it was a genius marketing plan because they got probably a ton of people to sign up for AOL once their disc ran out. But if you were broke, which we were, not too well off, we had to depend on them discs sometimes.
Yeah.
We want that internet. So Josh tries to tell Dina about this, and we see that he has a whole wall dedicated to these shady side Sarah Fear murder conspiracy things. And she doesn't really believe it or give a fuck about that. She's very self-absorbed. And next at school, we meet two more of our main characters. Dina's best friends, Kate and Simon. Kate is this overachiever, class president, head cheerleader, all that shit. But she don't take any shit from anyone, and she is also apparently the school's biggest drug dealer. I didn't see that coming from her.
It
surprised me.
She is one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite character.
She's my favorite character in this movie.
She's awesome. And then we get introduced to Simon, who is my least favorite character.
Wow, you don't like Simon?
Fuck no. Simon, the movie would have been a stronger movie without Simon.
Wow.
It's a hard toss-up between him and what probably a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this, but Dina. I can't stand Dina. She's super fucking whiny and depressive.
Can't stand Dina.
Yeah, she sucks.
It's so weird that I could like a movie so much and hate the main character so much.
Yeah, I thought about that. That is, I was trying to think of times that I felt that way, and I couldn't come up with many of them.
This was a first for me.
I love this movie, but man, she sucks.
Yes.
I guess they make up for that in other characters like Kate and Josh. But yeah, she's awful.
So Simon is pretty much like Kate's sidekick. He is very like quirky, funny. He likes the drugs that Kate sells and also really likes working at the grocery store. So that night, we see that Sunnyvale and Shadyside high schools are having a pre-game memorial for the mall massacre victims, and all the football, cheerleader, and band members must attend. We learn that Dina is a band geek and doesn't want to go to the event because she may run into Sam there. By the way, Sam is a cheerleader for Sunnyvale. During this memorial, we see Sam approach Dina, where we get a little bit of the story of what happened. Basically, Sam's parents got divorced. She had to move with her mom to Sunnyvale and switch schools. And even though Sam still lives close by, Dina just couldn't see how they could continue to date. She blames Sam for this move and the breakup and is also upset because Sam would never be open about their lesbian relationship to any of her friends and family. Dude, this is like so fucking weird because in the beginning of the movie you see her talk about how much she hates Sam. You would think Sam broke her heart, like Sam broke up with her, and then you get the story and you're like, you broke up with her and it was over that dumbass reason, like her parents got divorced and she had to go live with her other parent, which she probably doesn't have much of a choice in.
She said she didn't have a choice.
So I don't understand why you're so fucking mad at her. Like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, it makes no sense at all. This was the beginning of me absolutely hating Dina's character. You literally are that fucking mad over somebody having to move because their parents got divorced. I mean, that's like super selfish. Just that in itself.
Oh, yeah.
But then to be still that mad at them, like it was their fault, it just makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, I remember the first time I seen this and I heard that, I remember I was like, I gotta rewind. Did I hear that right? Like it's because your brain automatically assumes that this Sam girl broke up with her. And when you hear it's the other way around, and then you hear the reason and how stupid it is, it's almost like your brain kind of trips up. Like, there's no way that I just heard that right. Like, that's got to be wrong. Like, so I've missed something. But yeah, Sam is also she also now has a boyfriend, a football player for Sunnyvale named Peter, and this infuriates Dina even more because Dina is insufferable.
How dare her move on with her fucking life?
What a bitch. During this argument, the students of Sunnyvale and Shadyside get into this huge fight. The memorial and game is called off, and Shadyside students get back on their bus to head back home. While on the bus, Dina, Simon, and Kate notice that Peter, Sam, and Peter's friend are following them and throwing stuff at the back of the bus. An already agitated Dina decides they should open the emergency exit door on the bus and throw the cooler water onto Peter's car. Right as Kate and Dina are preparing to toss the ice water, Kate notices Dina's nose is bleeding and accidentally lets go of the cooler. This causes the cooler to slip from Dina's hand and shatters Peter's windshield, causing him to lose control of the car and crash into the woods. I know we're on the Dina hate train, but you really thought, even if you wouldn't have let go of the cooler, like you throwing all of the water on the front of that car was like, that was just, it wasn't going to be that big of a deal.
Well, it was full of ice too.
Like,
There's a good chance it probably would have fucked his windshield up anyway. Yeah, I don't feel bad for this guy at all. I think this was
fuck
like
no.
super, super shitty. Your rival school, you were dressed up in the costume that one of the students was killed, or that the killer was wearing, that one of the students was killed at this school, and you're like antagonizing the students after one of their classmates were just killed. That's super distasteful. I honestly would have thrown that whole cooler and I wouldn't have gave a flying fuck.
Yeah, Peter, I guess like all the Sunnyvale people kind of suck, but Peter is fucking really terrible. But the one person I do feel bad for in this scenario is Sam, because she is trying to get him to stop. She doesn't want to be doing any of this, and she's really caught in the middle of this whole thing. So we see that Peter's car is wrecked into a big rock on the edge of the tree line. Sam opens the door and falls out onto the ground, and all over the ground is this like red mossy like stuff. And she's like crawling around in this shit, and we see her nose start to bleed. So she gets some of her nose blood on her hand, and when she puts her hand back down into the mossy stuff, she gets a sudden flood of visions. She sees this like tree and a witch hanging from the tree and like some witchcraft stuff. And then Dina snaps her out of it by grabbing her arm. Simon and Kate show up, and while they are talking about the crash, Sam coughs up blood onto Simon's shirt. Next, we see Sheriff Good and other cops at the scene, and basically all the students are covering for each other, just saying, it was an accident. Good very obviously knows that they are all lying, but he lets them all go. So the next day, we see Dina and Josh are at home when they start to hear the doorbell ringing. Dina checks the door, but no one is there, when she then notices the skull mask killer watching her from across the street. She thinks that this is Sam's new boyfriend, Peter, which irritates her even more. We then cut to Kate, who is babysitting a few houses down from Dina and Josh. Simon is over there, like hanging out, watching TV, and still wearing his white t-shirt with Sam's blood on the front of it. And while in the dining room with the kids, Kate and Simon hear someone break into the house. They slowly creep into the living room to find the skull mask killer smelling Simon's blood-covered discarded shirt.
that he's probably been wearing for 2 fucking weeks because Simon is a fucking slob.
Dude, he wore that to his grocery store job.
Yeah, he literally worked in it. Mike, how long do you think that he had had that shirt on before it got blood all over it? Probably days. Dude's gross.
So Kate confronts him, and when Simon tries to pull her back, the skull mask killer vanishes.
They should have called the fucking police. Like, if somebody breaks into your house, like, why wouldn't you call the police?
You know,
I get Kate's got drugs there, but just hide the fucking drug. They're not going to search your house if you call them because somebody broke in.
This little chunk of this movie reminds me of Halloween, though. Like, you know, the best friend, the girl best friends are a couple houses down from each other. One's baby, like they're babysitting. And then there's the killer, you know, going house to house or whatever. I thought it was very Halloween.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So Kate and Simon end up over at Dina's and Josh's to explain how they caught, or who they think is Peter, breaking into the house. Simon takes a moment to try to hustle some good deals at the grocery store to Josh. He's like, dude, you should come buy some groceries, man. He
should be selling the drugs. And he put his fucking dirty ass bloody shirt back on again.
Yeah.
Like, why? You have another shirt over top of that. Just button your flannel up. Why would you put that thing back on again, especially after it was just smelled and a hole was actually stabbed through it, which is kind of a hint towards, you know, kind of the later part of the story. Dude, Simon is totally that guy who's got skid marks in his whitey-tighties.
So Kate gets Dina all riled up and aboard the Fuck Sam and Peter train, and they decide to drive to the hospital where Sam is and confront them. Dina goes back to Sam's room where, of course, she verbally attacks Sam again. Like, she just will not leave this girl alone. Like, I feel bad for her.
I wish Sam would have kicked her fucking ass.
This is like the ex from hell, man. Like, she just keeps finding you and just freaking out on you over some shit that she did.
Yeah, she's a mega cunt. I'm glad Sam tells her what's up in the hospital.
Yeah, finally tells her. So Sam has no idea what she's talking about, and she says that Peter has been there the whole night. We then see Peter walk into the hospital room, and during a big argument between them all, Peter gets stabbed in the back by the skull mask killer. Dina and Sam take off running. They pass right by Kate, Josh, and Simon, with the skull mask killer chasing right behind them. Did you notice when they are running here, they run right past like all these hospital patients? They're like sitting there watching TV. They're watching an old episode of Unsolved Mysteries.
No, did not notice it was Unsolved Mysteries.
This was the first time. So you actually hear the OG host say, "Tonight on Unsolved Mysteries." And I was like, I rewound it. I'm like, what?
So fucking 90s, too.
I was like, oh, fuck yeah, that's awesome.
It's a 90s staple. Yeah, I didn't catch that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I did catch that apparently this town is so broke that they can't afford lights in their hospital. Did you notice the whole hospital's like dark as fuck?
Well, I thought maybe because it was nighttime or something. I don't know.
No, even the emergency room where they're all sitting around watching Unsolved Mysteries is like it's like super dark. There's a light flickering in the back. I've been to the hospital plenty of times at night, and never been dark like that.
Maybe it was for the Unsolved Mysteries. Makes the episode better.
They turned the lights down like they did in the movie theaters.
Yep. So Kate, Simon, and Josh steal an ambulance and park it out front so they can pick up Dina and Sam as they run out the front door. Right as they are running out, Skull Mask Killer grabs Sam and Dina throws him to the ground. When he hits the floor, his skull mask flips up to reveal a very dead-looking Ryan Torres from the beginning of the film. Dina and Sam arrive at the police station to try to tell an officer about what happened at the hospital. They end up talking to Sheriff Good about it, who isn't taking them seriously, and he tells them that there is no way it could be Ryan Torres because he shot him in the head when he killed Heather. He then shows them a crime scene photo of a dead Ryan. Another officer comes to tell Good that they received a call about the hospital murders, so he decides to go check it out. On their way out the door, Dina manages to steal a police gun. Yeah, fucking right.
From the worst cop ever. He gets attacked by a teenage girl and doesn't realize that this loaded gun on his hip is no longer there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I would notice a 2-pound item missing from all of a sudden. I just got 2 pounds later, because anybody that's ever carried a gun in any situation like that, you notice when it's not there anymore.
Yeah,
very suddenly.
when you have a gun in a holster, it's very obvious that it's there.
Yep. I mean, you can even tell, like, if you take the magazine out of a gun, you can even tell that weight.
Yeah,
like, it's very obvious.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of ridiculous. She stole that.
She should have replaced it with some donuts. He would have never known.
He would have never known. Maybe she did.
Yep, maybe that's
Maybe
what
they
it
were
was.
just crammed. She smushed them down in there real quick so we couldn't see them. I was about to say we're gonna get the big the horror movie trope that I never realized was such a trope. One of the characters going off fucking forever away from the group to take a piss. Why does that keep happening?
It's a thing.
Is
man.
everybody embarrassed about like
pissing? Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. We did have a really good friend that used to be like that. I don't know if you remember, but he was really weird about anybody being able to hear.
Oh yeah.
I was like, is that like a phobia? Like somebody hearing? It was for females. That's what it was. I was like, he would have been the guy who walked away from the group to pee because he didn't want somebody to hear his pee.
Meanwhile, while waiting,
what a weird thing. Is there a real phobia for that? I wonder.
A phobia for everything. Meanwhile, while we're waiting by the ambulance, Simon goes around the building to pee. We then see a young woman sitting on the curb singing a song quietly. He approaches her to ask if she is okay when she suddenly attacks him. And this is Ruby Lane, who is pretty attractive for a dead, murderous, possessed girl.
She is pretty fucking hot. I would love to see her own Fear Street movie.
For sure. She cuts his leg with one of those like old-timey like shaving razors or whatever. And he falls in the street and she climbs on top of him and cuts his face. They struggle, fighting with each other for a bit before Dina shoots Ruby twice with a gun in the back and in the head. Ruby falls and Simon runs back to the ambulance, and when Sam looks back, she sees Ruby begin to get back up like nothing ever happened, and the bullet holes heal themselves.
We need a Fear Street One Night in Ruby Lane. You just caught that?
No, I mean, I was getting water and then I guess I did just get a click.
Fear Street One Night in Booty Lane, Volume 1.
So back at Dina's house, Simon explains his interaction with Ruby Lane, which causes Josh to recognize her from his news articles, from his murder wall. So he starts to explain a bunch of the Shady Side killers to the group, most of which we have seen, but there are a couple that we haven't. And, man, there's one that I really am interested in that we only get one scene. And he's got like the metal mask and he's like drowned in that person.
Yeah.
I can't remember what they called it.
They showed that same shot too when they're doing the preview for the second one at the end of the movie. And I don't think they ever really talk about which killer he was.
Why does he have a metal mask? I need to know this shit.
I don't know. Maybe he's the 80s killer.
I need
got,
to see.
Everything had like futuristic. It's what they thought we were going to look like in the future. Everything was going to be metal. It's a stainless steel mask.
At this point, even if they came out with fucking books, I'd read them on these people. Like, that's how much I want to know their story. So anyway, then Josh explains the root of it all, Sarah Fear. So the story goes, according to Josh and 1994 AOL chat rooms, in 1666, Sarah Fear was hanged for witchcraft. And ever since then, like once every 10 years or so, She possesses someone and causes them to go on a murder spree in Shadyside to take revenge on the town. The nursery rhyme goes, before the witch's final breath, she found a way to cheat her death. By cutting off her cursed hand, she kept her grip upon our land. She reaches from beyond the grave to make good men her wicked slaves. It's a
Good shit.
It's a fire rhyme.
Fuck yeah.
Good. She should have a mixtape.
She needs that SoundCloud.
So then the group is like, well, why the fuck is Sarah Fear so pissed at us? And Sam tells the group about how she fell out of the car into the red mossy shit, and then she's seen visions of the witch. So what else is there to do except for go back to the scene of the accident?
Bro, this group would be so fucking lost without Josh.
Oh yeah,
he is like
they'd be dead.
He's like the unsung MVP of this fucking movie.
Yeah,
they would have no idea what was going on.
No clue. They probably would have died pretty early on in this movie because they would have no idea that, for one, because right now they were looking for just the skull mask killer. But now they're finding out that there's going to be a bunch of different killers coming after them.
Yeah. Yeah. We would be so lost without Josh, too. we wouldn't have a movie. It would be like a 30-minute long, what the fuck was that?
So while back there, the group discovers Sarah Fear's bones still shackled in chains and buried in the mossy stuff. Sam mentions how her nose started bleeding right before she's seen the visions, and the group figures that Sam must have disturbed Sarah's grave. So maybe all they need to do, in Simon's words, is just undisturb it. While Kate, Dina, and Simon are reburying the bones, Sam starts to have another vision, and suddenly Josh sees a man with a burlap sack over his head running full speed at him holding an axe. Josh steps out of the way, and the man runs right past him and violently swings the axe at Sam. So this is the Nightwing killer from the summer camp, and he looks awesome.
He does. He's scary as fuck. This guy ran at me in the woods. I would shit my pants.
He very much has the town that dreaded sundown vibe with him.
He does.
Yeah, if you ever seen that, this is pretty much what this guy looks like.
Got the burlap sack. His is a little more formed to his head.
Yeah.
It's really he did a really, really good job with this burlap sack. Probably the best burlap sack I've ever seen, actually.
Well, they show in one of the movies why it's so, because it doesn't start out like that.
Yeah, it doesn't. But really, really good artistic work on his burlap sack.
So Dina pulls Sam out of the way quickly, and they all run back to the ambulance and speed off. So it seems like the undisturbing didn't work. The group then discusses the situation while in the back of the ambulance, and Sam explains that during her latest vision, the witch told her that the killers are after just her and not her friends. The only reason they attacked them earlier was because they each had a small bit of Sam's blood on their clothing. They debate what to do about the situation for a moment before Josh has a plan to lure the killers in using the new information they have learned. So next we see the group head to the high school. They all put clothes on from the lost and found so they could change into stuff that doesn't have Sam's blood on it. They all grab some stuff and head to their separate ways to change. So Dina and Sam go to a classroom. Simon and Josh head to the boys' bathroom and Kate to the girls'. But right before they go in, Kate asks Josh to go in the bathroom with her. And this part's fucking stupid.
Good for you, Josh. So happy for Josh here.
I think this part's dumb because they have all these killers after them. And then they're like, hey, let's stop to make out.
Well, I don't think Kate and Josh thing is dumb because
I actually didn't like that.
She's no, I did. I like Josh. I think good.
I like
good for
him, but it's she's fucking almost probably almost 18 years old and just to make out this 14-year-old kid.
Yes, that happens.
That's
That
weird.
that definitely happens.
I mean,
And they're
it's just
both in high
weird.
school together. It definitely happens. And he is like a 14-year-old boy. He is not gonna. There's no killer alive gonna stop him from wanting to go in the bathroom with her.
No, I don't
And
blame him. It just
and
doesn't make sense for her.
Dina obviously could have her legs cut off and still be obsessed with Sam. I think it's
Yes.
kind of weird for Sam, but what I don't get is Simon beating off in the bathroom. That was the dumbest fucking thing
That's
ever.
hilarious.
He is the most annoying character. He literally,
We're so opposite with this
literally-
situation because I liked that.
he's finally forced to take off his bloody fucking gross shirt he's been wearing for 4 months and looks at himself in the mirror and beats off in the middle of getting ready to die. It's dumb. What would, like, I get for the other people, they have somebody they're close to, they're all scared, they're in the bathroom getting naked together, but he is by himself. What would make you want to masturbate in this situation?
Thinking about those deals at the grocery store.
It must have been the deals at the grocery store. He must be thinking about those $2.99 chicken chokers at the grocery store.
So Sam and Dina go to Pound Town. Kate makes out with her best friend's 14-year-old little brother. And Simon, I guess, jacks off while looking at himself in the mirror. So anyway, the group uses Sam's blood to lure each of the killers into the boys' bathroom, where they blow them up using chemicals from the science lab. This works, but after a few minutes, the killer's body parts start reforming. The group takes refuge in a classroom where the Nightwing killer is chopping down the door with an axe. All the group except Dina decide to give Sam up to save everyone else. Kate is pretty much like, dude, we gotta ditch this bitch. Like it's time. It's over. They want her. We can't all die. And I don't think she's that wrong.
Fuck no, I don't blame Kate at all. I think
she's not in love with Sam.
Yeah,
you know?
no, I agree. I think that I don't blame any of them. I would have been, sadly, as shitty as it is, on the train of, fuck it, this is Sam's problem. I wouldn't have been like, hey, let's throw her out in the hallway. I would have been like, you're gonna have to jump out this window and get the fuck away from us. But we'll at least allow you to jump out the window, and we'll all jump in the ambulance and drive until we can drop you off somewhere. But I am not about to fucking die for Sam. They don't even know Sam that well. Like, I guess they know her, but she doesn't.
Well,
she's been going to a different school now. Like, they probably haven't seen her in months. They're not friends with her.
Yeah, if I were Kate and Simon, I would be like, let's escape out of this window. Here's the keys to the ambulance. You do you. I'm gonna go home now.
Yeah.
I'm kind of done with this for the night. Like, it seems like we're in the clear. I don't know what you're gonna do. I recommend you probably just keep driving.
Yeah, that's another thing. I even put in my notes, why not just have Sam leave in a car and drive far away? Just have her drive as far as she can fucking get. Drive to the other side of the country.
Yeah.
Just get the fuck out of there. It'll take them a long time to get to the other side of the country.
I don't know, maybe get on a boat. They probably can't get on a boat. I don't know, but I'd be like, whatever you do, good luck to you. I'm going to go home.
Yeah, I agree. I don't blame Kate at all. Kate's great. Nothing she does is bad. My favorite character.
When Josh realizes that so they go to like put her out there and just let her get killed, and then they grab her and bring her back in right before Nightwing killer kills her, because Josh realizes that there was one survivor from Camp Nightwing massacre, a girl named C. Berman. They attempt to call her after finding her number in the phone book. She doesn't answer, but Dina leaves her a message. After reading the newspaper article, they realized that C. Berman died and was then resuscitated and that's how she beat the curse. So Sam has to die and then be brought back to life. Seems kind of a sketchy plan. I will say this. I feel like they kind of jumped the gun with this plan because I personally, especially if I was Sam, would have been like, well, let's talk to C. Berman first and make sure that, that's what it was before we kill me and then attempt to bring me back.
Yeah, I thought this was very far-fetched.
But they were like, that must have had to have been what it was. That's what the news said. Like,
Yeah.
well, I mean, she may have done something different, though. Like, we need to talk to her. But they're just like, she didn't answer. Fuck her. Let's move on to the plan.
The whole killers going after the blood thing and blowing them up in the school, I thought that was a far-fetched plan. I was like, well, you don't really have any guarantees that that's the case. They're just going after her blood, and that they won't kill you if you're there. And then this was even crazier. Josh is the smartest one in the group. He probably should have just kept his mouth shut when he read that. Just let Sam get axed down and whatever.
Kind of
be
works
done
out.
with it. No, it doesn't. No, I'll argue
does.
that point in the end. It does not.
So the group then escapes through the window and heads to Simon's favorite place, the grocery store. Once we are there, we see that Simon has won Employee of the Month every month because this dude loves slinging groceries. We see Kate and Simon basically create a drug cocktail for Sam to take in order to kill her. They then steal a bunch of EpiPens, which contain adrenaline, which they use to basically get her heart started again once she dies. And the plan is that while these pills are taking effect on Sam, the rest of the group, minus Dina, because Dina can't get her head out of Sam's ass, will try to keep the killers occupied by smearing some more of Sam's blood on themselves. And if I were them, I would be like, all right, I'll help you out, but I'm not smearing her blood on myself again. Like, no. You're asking too much at this point.
That was dumb. I don't know why they didn't do this plan in the back of the ambulance while they drove around where they couldn't be killed. Like, they could have did the same plan in the back of the ambulance while they drove around town.
Good point. Maybe the ambulance is out of gas.
They could have used the blood mop thing that worked in the school to trap them somewhere, like the freezers at the grocery store, to buy themselves more time.
They're teenagers. Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like teenage me would have been like, I'm not putting this girl's blood on me. Not doing it.
The brains of the operation's a 14-year-old boy. So the group all splits up. Josh goes to check the emergency exits in the back, and Simon patrols the stockroom, while Kate guards the front entrance. So after Dina does her I'm in love with you speech.
God, she's so pathetic. She talks about how her whole life is like ruined after she broke up with her girlfriend, and she seen her whole life in front of her, and she was just going to be a alcoholic that goes to work and comes home and drinks just like her dad, and that this has been this night they've spent together while people's been chasing them, trying to murder them. It's like her second awakening, and she's going to make it right. And then she says her super cringy, I'm going to bring you back. Dina sucks.
We're going to eat cheeseburgers.
Yeah, I'm going to take you on a date.
Even though this morning I hated you. So Sam takes the first and second set of pills, and right before she takes the third, Skull Mask Killer runs up behind Dina. Right as he goes to stab her, Kate interrupts this vicious act of murder by hitting him with the old hairspray flamethrower trick.
The teenager weapon of choice.
Yep, used to do that.
I still kill spiders that way.
Really?
It's a really quick way to kill. Yeah, they die like super fast.
So as Kate holds him off, Dina and Sam get up and run to the back of the store because they left the third dose of pills. Dina looks around for another way to kill Sam, and this is when she spots a lobster tank.
She's like, I'm going to fucking kill you with this lobster. This lobster will choke you to death.
with its claws. Up front, Kate hides from Skull Mask. She looks around and doesn't see him, and it seems like she was able to escape when suddenly Skull Mask grabs her hair and pulls her up. He throws her into a bread slicing machine, turning it on, and then slams her face into a cake on the counter. Skull Mask then spins her around and stabs her in the gut. She hits him, pulling the knife out, when he then slams her onto the bread slicer and pushes her head into the blades.
Yeah, this is the worst, best part of the movie. This kill is awesome. I hated that Kate died. Hated it, but
She went out like a G.
The kill is fucking awesome. The deli slicer or bread slicer. I thought it was like a meat slicer in the deli.
It's you put a loaf of bread in and you push it through, and it does like all the cuts that you get the slices of bread.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just thought it was like for deli meats or something. It's made to cut some strong bread. I give it that. But yeah, this was really, really, really bittersweet. Sweet in the sense that the kill was fucking great, but Kate's gone.
We then see like 20 thin blades slice Kate's head open, splattering blood all over and killing her instantly. And while this is happening, we see Ruby Lane attempt to sneak up behind Simon, but he quickly turns and stabs her in the neck with a box cutter before running back into the store.
Simon does his only useful thing of the entire movie.
We also see Josh walking down a food aisle when suddenly the Nightwing killer charges behind him, swings his axe. Josh dodges the axe and takes off running towards the front of the store. Josh and Simon both reach the front of the store at the same time and are frozen in fear at the sight of Kate in the bread slicing machine. As they both look at each other in shock, Josh sees Nightwing killer's axe plunge into the top of Simon's head.
Another awesome kill.
And then we cut back over to Dina, who is attempting to drown Sam in the tank of water. Josh runs towards him with the killers close behind. The Nightwing killer spots Sam and Dina and then charges at them. And as he gets closer and closer, he raises his axe in preparation to strike. And right before he does, Sam dies. We see her body go limp and Nightwing vanishes.
Nightwing's probably really confused.
He's like back in the ghost world.
He's like in Freddy versus Jason, where Freddy's like about to kill that chick in the locker room, and Jason kills her first while she's sleeping.
Oh,
she's like, just like, what the fuck happened? It's like, what happened? I was so close to getting a kill.
Dina and Josh quickly pull Sam from the tank and proceed to stab her with like 12 EpiPens. I wonder how many EpiPens is too many EpiPens.
You know, I thought Dina left Sam in that water for quite a while after she died. Like, she leaves her in there for a good, I don't know, probably 30 seconds. You know, Dina's that level of psychopath crazy where she might be one of those like,
I love you so much that I can't risk you ever leaving me again.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You know, maybe she's that we're in love again. I'm going to make this shit eternal because if I can't have you, nobody can.
So Dina starts CPR and Sam spits up water and opens her eyes. We then see Dina, Sam, and Josh talking to Sheriff Good. They basically make up some like bullshit story about how the lights went out and they have no idea what happened. And everybody slipped on some glass, I guess. He doesn't really believe it, but he ends up just blaming Simon and Kate for the murders. He says that they were junkies and went on a killing spree and then decided to pillage the pharmacy for more drugs. Dina argues that that is not true, but she also isn't willing to tell him what really happened. Later on, we see Dina, Josh, and Sam all hanging out at Dina's. Sam and Dina are in love again. Everything's great, but then the phone rings. Dina answers it, and it's motherfucking C. Berman calling her back. And Dina says, "We don't need your help anymore. We already took care of it." And I'm like, what's this bitch's deal, man? She's so shitty to everybody. Like, this lady called you back because you called her for help about some shit that nobody else would ever believe you about. And you are shitty towards her because she wasn't home when you called earlier.
She's just a
What
bitch.
the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, she sucks. I would hate to be her brother. I feel bad for Josh.
Yeah,
He's got
I
to
didn't even
deal with
think
that
about
shit
it.
all the time. I'd be really fucking salty if I was Josh too. Like his friend, not his like best friend, but one of his really good friends, Simon, was just died, and his like crush that he just got to like mess with for the first time, older girl that he really had a crush on. You could tell in the beginning of the movie.
Vicky Valancourt showed me her titties and I like them too.
Yeah, so now she's dead and Simon's dead, all for my sister's fucking crazy obsession with her girlfriend that she broke up with last year. Like, and this is why I say this plan was a failure, because there's now 2 people dead instead of 1.
Oh yeah, I didn't even.
That
That's a
is
good
a
point.
huge failure.
Yeah, that's a good
2
point.
people who were completely innocent in this. Kate had nothing to do with any of this, and Simon had nothing to do with any of this. This whole thing was caused by Dina and Sam's fucking crazy boyfriend, and 2 innocent people are now dead instead of just Sam.
Yeah, so I was, wondering maybe Dina was just being super shitty because she was going through the breakup and all that stuff. But this scene tells you that that's not true because now she's got her love of her life back and they're all hanging out and her girlfriend just told her mom of that she's in this relationship with Dina finally, which is what Dina has wanted forever. And so now life is good. They're hanging out in their bedroom, fucking listening to Pixies, all this stuff. And then she gets this phone call and she's still a shitty person. She's still fucking shitty to people. Like, so obviously it's not just she was having a bad day or she's going through some stuff. She's just shitty in general.
Yeah, and cell phones didn't exist back then. Well, they did, but only very wealthy people had them, and they were the size of a fucking boombox. What did she expect the lady to call them back on? The fucking school phone that they called her on? That they're not at anymore?
Yeah, not only did she get home, but then she had to listen to the message. And then she had to fucking track down who the fuck Dina, whatever her name is. Obviously, Dina's a teenager, so she's not in the phone book. So then you got to track down who Dina's fucking parents are, get their phone number, and then you finally get in touch with them. And then this bitch answers the phone and is like, "We don't fucking need you. Thanks for calling me back so late."
Yeah, I wouldn't help them after this. I
I'd,
would have
I'd
been
be
like,
like,
you know what?
where,
Fuck you. Figure
where,
it out.
I'd be like, "Where do you fucking live? I'm about to come out there and beat your ass right now. Like, I don't care if you're 17. I'm about to fuck you up."
She ain't scared. She's like, I died once.
Yeah, I faced down Sarah Fear. You didn't. So anyway, yeah, Steve Berman says, "No, you didn't. It's never over because you didn't beat the witch herself." And then we see someone in a black robe in a cave, definitely doing some witchcraft shit. We also see names of the previous killers carved on the wall of this cave, and then Sam's name appears next. Dina turns around to find Sam standing right behind her with a blank expression on her face. Dina looks down to find a kitchen knife sticking out of her stomach. Sam slowly removes the knife and Dina falls to the floor. We then cut to Josh, who is back on the World Wide Web.
So, it was not a kitchen knife that she stabbed her with. This is the
It was
first
a
time I caught it.
drumstick, the broken drumstick.
Yeah, the
Fuck.
broken drumstick that Dina, being a bitch, bitching at her brother for not answering the door, slammed and broke earlier in the movie. So, that's what you fucking get for being a bitch.
Yeah. I was thinking about it, and if I would have been writing this movie, obviously it would have been slightly different, but one of the things I wish they would have done differently is I wish that it was Dina who ended up possessed instead of Sam. I thought that'd been cooler.
Yeah.
Because if you remember, Dina has the nosebleed before Sam ever gets possessed and all that stuff. She is the original, like, one that this starts affecting. She was first.
Yeah, that would have been cool. Either way. I
And
wish that Sam would have killed Dina. I think that would
and
have been cooler.
another great benefit to that was when we finally returned to this story, Dina wouldn't be the main character anymore. I would much rather see Sam and Josh run around while Dina fucking Evil Dead's it over there in the corner.
Yeah. I wish that just Sam would have killed Dina.
That would have I've been cool with
I
that.
think it would have been, or I mean, even Dina killed Sam after she got stabbed. I wish that they would have went all the way. They did like the grim ending thing, but they didn't take it full grim. Like they have this happy ending there together, and then she turns around. And I do love that it's this girl that she's done all this shit for, and she's, gotten two of her fucking best friends killed for this girl, and then this girl ends up being the one to kill her. But I think they should have full sent that shit. They should have just went with it. Dina's fucking dead. We don't have to deal with her attitude anymore. Or Dina fights back and kills Sam, and now she's had to kill the love of her life. Super grim. They should have ended it on that.
So yeah, Josh is back on the computer and he is chatting about the murders when suddenly a bloody Dina appears behind him. They head up to the kitchen where Sam appears to have been morphed into a deadite. Dina has her tied up with a phone cord as she thrashes on the floor. Dina leans in and swears that she will get her back, and the screen goes black, and we get a to be continued.
Another cringy ass line from Dina.
Yeah.
To the love of her life. That was my biggest gripe. I loved the ending, the flip on the ending, but the having Sam tied up with the phone cord and her still being alive, I hated that.
No, I was fine with it. So yeah, then we get a quick cutscene with Dina and Josh sitting in front of a middle-aged woman as she drops a picture down in front of them. The photo is of two teenage girls standing in front of a large sign that says Camp Nightwing. On the bottom, it is labeled July 12th of 1978. The woman says that this was the first day of camp, and a week later, her sister was dead. And then we get an awesome glimpse of what is next. A motherfucking camp slasher movie. And I'm excited. I'm
Yes.
so excited.
The preview they do for it's fucking
Awesome.
really good.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
kill it. They kill it. I think it's to like school's out forever or for summer or whatever.
You can tell based off the preview that it's gonna be a 70s slasher, very very Friday the 13th. It's gonna be a different feeling movie.
Yeah, and I remember when I first seen this movie, and then I seen that at the end, and I was just like, no fucking way, because I don't think I knew that each one of these movies were going to be different. I thought it was just going to be a trilogy of kind of the same story continued. And then when I seen that we were going to do a camp slasher in the 70s, I was just like, oh my God, this is fucking amazing. And I did wonder like how well were they going to be able to do it. And I thought, without getting too much into it, because it's the next episode, but I thought they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get too far into that. I guess we'll reveal that in the ratings next episode, but I think that one holds up well.
So the opening scene is a homage to Wes Craven's Scream from 1996. The camera work and even the way he catches and stabs the girl mirrors the opening murder of Casey Becker from the film.
I called that.
It was
with
very much on purpose.
His running stab. I mean, it was like fucking dead on.
Yeah,
dead on.
It's the same exact camera angle, everything. So the neighbor that Kate drops off, the girls that she's like babysitting, she drops them off with a lady called Nurse Mary Lane. This is Shadyside murderer Ruby Lane's mother. So she is only seen briefly in this film, but she has somewhat of a larger role in the next film. And it's really hard to tell. So the house that Kate takes the kids to, that she drops them off with this lady, is the same house that is in the picture of the article from when Ruby Lane did all the murders and had the article. They take a picture outside of her house. Same house.
Huh.
Yeah.
It did not know that.
Yeah. So there is a real Shadyside, Ohio, and it has a next door town rival. It is named Claresville, and it was the real inspiration for Sunnyvale. The town is about 30 minutes away from Shadyside, and it also has a devil for a school mascot, just like in the film.
That's really funny because I was gonna say earlier in the episode that Shadyside was Hamilton, Ohio.
That's funny.
It is Hamilton. Like they grow up in that shitty area and then they kind of just get trapped there. If they stay there too long, they're just stuck there.
Yeah, good point. So it kind of reminds me of like Hamilton and then Fairfield.
Yeah,
Exactly
it is
what it
very,
is.
very, very, very similar vibe.
I wonder what, like, I don't know, maybe that's one of the reasons I kind of get this movie so much is because I've seen that in real life. Like, that's a real thing.
Yeah, it definitely is. That's just funny that it was based off real towns in Ohio, because that was my first thought when we started this, and I was thinking about how shitty the
Town?
Shadyside. Yeah, that's I was thinking about how shitty Shadyside was.
Well, Leigh Janiak is from Ohio, which is why she set the film in Ohio. Yeah. So the art department tried to convince writer and director Leigh Janiak that a human head wouldn't go through a bread slicer, but she was adamant that it would. To prove her wrong, they went out and bought a bread slicer and shoved a full-sized watermelon into it to show her that it wasn't possible. And to their surprise, it worked perfectly, and everyone in the production office cheered.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's why I said I made the joke. It was made to cut some hard bread because I thought it was a deli slicer because I didn't think a bread slicer would I mean, a human skull is harder than a watermelon, but I'm kind of surprised by that too. I didn't think it would work that perfect.
Yeah, there's a couple. They did a couple shots in this movie too. They did I can't remember what they were, but they did like some actual almost exact replica shots of like The Shining. Like there's one I think where the Nightwing killer is trying to get into the door with the axe, and they did like a shot for shot of from The Shining of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there was another one too. I can't remember. I should have wrote it down. But yeah, that's one thing that, man, she did a really good job because she sprinkled out, like, even shot for shot, some really awesome stuff from famous horror movies in this movie. Like, this movie is sprinkled with just awesome shit. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I think she did a really good job paying homage to the genre with all three of these.
Yeah, it's a huge mistake, I think, to do more Fear Streets without her. It's one thing if they just can't get her, like she doesn't want to do anymore. But I didn't hear anything about them even, talking to her about it. So but I don't know. Ratings and kill count. Ready to jump into this? So the total kill count is 15. You have Mall Victim 1, Mall Victim 2, Mall Victim 3. You have Ryan Torres, Heather Watkins, Peter, Stephanie, Nurse Betty, Ruby Lane's friend, 1950s housewife, Billy Barker's brother, Griffer, victim. Griffer is the guy with the mask, the metal mask. That's who he is. That's the guy he drowns.
Billy Barker's the kid with the bat, right?
Yep, and that was his brother he was killing. Then you have Kate, and then Simon, and then technically you have Sam Fraser because she does get drowned.
Yeah,
So
she definitely does get drowned and left in that tank for a little suspiciously too long.
Sam, not Sam, Dina like kills her, and then she has a piece of her hair in her pocket that she carries around forever.
She's a fucking creep, man.
All right, so favorite kill. I'll go first. It is my pick. This is hands down. This is easy, man. The fucking bread slicer. If I were to pick a close second, I would say Heather, and the reason why is because it is that shot for shot of Casey Becker's death. I thought that was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I got that vibe before I ever even knew that that was supposed to be like a replica of that scene.
Yeah, if you're a fan of Scream, like a big fan, and you know that movie well, like you would have instantly, even if you didn't notice it, even if you couldn't pinpoint where it came from, that should have been instantly familiar to you because the mannerisms and the way that the killer moves and runs and stabs is dead on that kill.
Well, there's even two, like she gets stabbed in the chest and she reaches up and pulls the mask off just like Casey Becker
Yeah.
does. And she even says like why? Because she can now see the identity of the killer. And I mean, man, it's like it's so good. It's like they copied it, but they didn't copy it so much that it's like, man, this movie's just trying to be Scream. It was a very well done, it's wow, it's really paying homage to
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah, I agree. Thought it was definitely paying more of a paying homage thing than because I mean it was done obvious enough to where they weren't copying it to be something original. It was paying homage to the opening of Scream.
Yeah, that's what pretty much all of these movies do, which is why I wanted to cover them, is they really pay homage to all of these major horror movies that's really been groundbreaking or really influential to a lot of other movies, especially like decade wise. And they kind of cover a lot of that stuff in just three movies, and I think that's great. They did a fantastic job.
And then he even pulls the knife up and there's an implant stuck on the knife. That's technically the second time that kill's been redone.
Yeah,
Shot for
that's
shot.
true. What's your favorite kill?
Kate had the
Yeah.
coolest kill by far. It's the best kill in the movie.
Oh yeah.
As a second, I picked Simon because I hated him, and the axe to the head was actually done really cool.
So Kate's death actually won Best Kill of the Year at the 2022 Dead Meat Awards, and it also won the Best Special Effects Kill at the 2022 Shutter Chainsaw Awards.
Yeah, when they show her like the after effect, like when Josh and Simon see her, and they actually show like the her head and brains and shit at the other end of the bread cutter.
Oh, it looks great.
It's fucking awesome looking.
I mean, even the bread cutter when it's cutting, because they cut from, obviously the top of their head all the way down to her mouth. Like it's not a little bit of her head, it cuts her whole head and they show it and it's awesome.
Yeah. I think if you watch this movie and have to pick a favorite kill, as much as I didn't want to see her go, there's no way you can not pick that as the best kill.
All right, so rating time. So I rated this movie a 4.6. I fucking love this movie. It's very 90s slasher. It's very kind of Scream, but it's not too much. Like it has the 90s, Scream slasher vibe with it, but it does something really interesting where it has witchcraft in it, and you would never think those two movies would work together. Those two ideas, a slasher and a witchcraft movie, blending together so well, and this movie does it, and it's not like you don't even bat an eye at it. It's totally works. It's great. And I think that's really hard to do. It's really hard to take a slasher and add a complete different, almost genre into with it and it not be fucking just weird. The movie looks amazing. This is probably one of my most favorite soundtracks of any movie. I love the whole entire soundtrack. I've been listening to the soundtrack all week since I fucking first watched this movie at the beginning of the week. Yeah, hands down, there's really not a ton of stuff to complain about. It had a couple characters I really like, a couple of them that I didn't, one that I hated. I would say my negatives, man, why I didn't give it a 5 is I can't stand Dina. Like, I understand they had to make her like a little bit of a pain in the ass because she's going through the breakup, but man, she's just hands down all the time. She sucks. Another example I want to bring up of this is her best friend who has done nothing to her. The moment her best friend's like, hey, I don't want to die because of this, and we've got to give Sam up or whatever, she turns on her best friend immediately.
Not to mention, she don't really like bat an eye when she's dead
No,
at the end. She's
no.
so happy at the end of this movie, and two of her best friends are now dead.
Yeah, I feel like she is a terrible friend. It was just, what, 3-4 hours before she was talking to Kate and she was like, yeah, fuck Sam. And then now she is just like, fuck you, Kate. I'm on Team Sam now. Yeah, man, I just can't stand her. And I wish they would have wrote her a little more likable, even like kind of likable.
Yeah.
I think Sam's great. She's cool. I have no issues with her. But man, Dina sucks. And I just didn't really care for the Kate, falling for Josh. I thought that was kind of just weird to me, but those are my only negatives of the whole movie. That was it. So 4.6.
All right. Well, I gave this movie a 4.5. Way
Oh
off.
wow,
Yeah.
man. We are close.
Yeah. So I loved the overall feel of this movie. They absolutely nailed the 90s slasher feel. The 90s soundtrack's great. The colors that the cinematography used were awesome.
On point.
They had a really dark feel, but they had these like bright 90s neon colors throughout the movie. Thought that was awesome. Thought the kills were great. That was one thing that really surprised me, with it being a Fear Street when I first seen it. But they went hard with the kills. My overall favorite part of the whole movie though is the story. Obviously this is only one part, so we haven't seen the whole picture yet. But tying in all these fucking awesome killers in with a witch and doing it so seamlessly and putting it in one story was awesome. My only complaint of the movie is Simon's goofy ass fucking character and Dina being super negative and fucking depressing and as you said, terrible friend. Like her best friend, her best two friends just died and she is so happy at the end of this movie. She has such a creepy obsession with Sam that
Yes.
she doesn't even bat an eye that her two best friends just died for her at the end of this movie. Thought that was just really weird. But overall, really fun movie. That's one thing I don't think we've mentioned. It's a really, really fun movie to watch.
Oh
Like it's
yeah.
one if you're looking for like a fun movie to just put on and enjoy. It's a really good one, and I think it's a great start to an amazing trilogy.
Yeah, this is just if you're in, especially if you grew up, in the 90s or was a teenager or a young teenager in that time frame, and you recognize a lot of stuff that they sprinkled into this movie. It's just like a super nostalgic, fun. The kills are awesome. There's some funny parts, but it's not like too funny. It's just, yeah, it's a fun ass movie, man. It's like a fantastic ride. Like if this was a ride at a theme park, this would be one of my favorite rides. The colors are fucking amazing. This is probably out of the whole trilogy, this is the most visually pleasing one, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I really like the second, the visually too, but I think they all. I think every one of them has their a really good feel for the movie that they are.
Oh yeah, yeah. I just really like the bright colors of this movie. And it looks so good.
Really 90s nostalgia.
Yeah. I am so fucking excited for the next movie though. Like I'm ready to jump into the next movie like as soon as possible. I had to hold off from watching it before we did this episode. I wanted to watch it like immediately afterwards. But we are heading back to Camp Grindhouse Syndicate. We haven't been there in a little while.
It has been a while.
Yeah. So once again, we thank you guys for listening. Please give us a follow or like if you enjoy the show. Check out the website, check out the socials. Tell a friend, a family member, or your shady side murderer back from the dead about the show. We hope to see you next time. You got any last words?
Yeah, be sure to check out Fear Street One Night in Rudy to Booty.
Camp Nightwing, here we come.